Negotiations for this AJ Dillian Whyte rematch appear to be at a stalemate. Dillian Whyte did an interview with Sky the other day where he said there's been no communication between AJ's team and his team. But then Eddie Hearn, I think it was recorded the day after, or maybe later on the same day, said that he'd been in contact with Dillian Whyte's team finally, made them an offer, and Dillian Whyte wasn't happy with the offer. It wasn't enough money. Now, one thing I've noticed over the past couple years is a lot of fighters seem to be in denial about the state of the world economy. The fact that the cost of living is skyrocketing and the public have got far less disposable income because you got fighters expecting to be paid exactly what they were being paid prior to 2020. And I'm talking about, championship level fighters or top contenders. And unless you're in some type of undisputed super fight, then that's just not realistic. On top of that, you got two fighters here in Anthony Joshua and Dillian Whyte who have both lost twice in recent fights. Dillian Whyte has been knocked out badly in 2 of his last 4 fights. And Anthony Joshua, of course, has lost 2 of his last 4 fights. That means that your commercial value has to drop on top of all the economy stuff and people having less disposable income. Your commercial value has to drop because of those losses. And knockout defeats are even worse than points defeats when it comes to your value going down. Now, we don't know what this offer is from Team Joshua to Dillian Whyte, but based on the stuff Dillian Whyte has said publicly over the past few years, not just about the AJ fight, but several other fights, my suspicion is that he's overvaluing himself. I could be wrong. Maybe it's AJ who's overvaluing himself. Maybe they're both overvaluing themselves in this fight. But one thing's for sure, as much as AJ's value has dropped, it's still a lot higher than Dillian Whyte's. And to put it in perspective, AJ struggled to sell out the O2 last time out. So where do you think Dillian Whyte's value is at this point? Both guys fought Jermaine Franklin in their last fight. Neither of them impressed. AJ in particular had people walking out from that fight afterwards talking about how disappointed they were. Lots of the public were doing that. AJ fans were doing that. Do you think AJ's value has gone up after the Franklin fight or down? I'm saying it's gone down. Same goes for Dillian Whyte. His value has gone down after his performance against Jermaine Franklin. But fortunately for AJ, the Saudis are apparently still willing to pay him a lot of money to fight Deontay Wilder. Dillian Whyte doesn't have an option out there like that. The AJ fight is by far the biggest payday Dillian Whyte is going to get anywhere at this point. I can't imagine how he could get a bigger payday elsewhere. Fighting who exactly? And again, I've heard Dillian Whyte talk over the past year or so about what he thinks his value is, talking about himself as one of the top 4 or top 3 heavyweights in the world. I don't see him as one of the top 4 or top 3 heavyweights in the world, not even close at this point. But he sees himself there. So what kind of purse do you think he's demanding? And this isn't just about splits, because more often than not, fighters demand guarantees. So yes, they'll be on a percentage, but they also want a bottom line guarantee. To my knowledge, it's relatively rare for fighters to go 100% split, as in only take a split and have no guarantee. The last fighter I recall doing that was Sergey Kovalev against Andre Ward. He had no guarantee, he was on a straight percentage. Fighters don't tend to like doing that. And again, we're not privy to what's going on with regards to Joshua Whyte 2 behind the scenes, who's been offered what. But as I say, I think Dillian Whyte is in a more difficult situation. He doesn't have as much leverage at the negotiating table. Is it possible that AJ actually doesn't want to fight Dillian Whyte and he sees it as too dangerous and all of this is just smoke and mirrors because he doesn't want to jeopardize the Deontay Wilder fight in December, which is going to be for multi-millions? I guess it's possible. I'm open to that scenario, but I'm also open to the scenario that Dillian Whyte sees this as a cash out. End of the day, he's been knocked out by AJ before. AJ doesn't have a great chin, but Dillian Whyte's chin is worse, I think, at this point. All it's going to take is one solid uppercut, fight's over. Dillian Whyte's laid out on the canvas again. Deep down, he knows that. And since the stakes are that high, and that would basically signal the end of his career, how much do you think he wants to get paid for taking that kind of risk? I know there's a lot of talk coming from Dillian Whyte right now, acting like it's AJ who don't want it. Maybe it is AJ who don't want it. I don't know. All I can tell you is what my suspicion is. as an outsider looking in. At the end of the day, as I've already said, AJ has knocked this guy out before. So how afraid of him can he really be? And in fact, going back to how well this fight might sell, I don't think it will sell that well, to be honest with you. Because again, the fans were disappointed with both of them in their last fights. And this is a rematch. I would expect it to do better than the Jermaine Franklin fight. Either of them against Franklin, yes. But this isn't anything like the Matchroom heyday of 2019 and earlier. No, they're on DAZN now. The platform doesn't have the kind of reach that Sky does. That's another thing you have to consider. Anyway, if this fight doesn't happen, then apparently they've got 2 other opponents for AJ that they're looking at. I'll be interested to find out who they are. And as for Dillian Whyte, I don't know where he goes really, because he's not on the cusp of a title shot. So what's he going to do? If Wilder's fighting AJ, Usyk's fighting Dubois, and hopefully Tyson Fury in December, what's Dillian Whyte going to do? There's no big paydays out there. What, trilogy with Chisora? That's not going to pay as much money as an Anthony Joshua fight would pay. A rematch with Joseph Parker? There's not going to be a massive demand for that fight. If Dillian Whyte wants another title shot, he's going to have to get in some eliminators. He's going to have to take on people like Hrgovic. You think Dillian Whyte's going to fight Filip Hrgovic? The Dillian Whyte of a few years ago might have done. But the Dillian Whyte today, I think he's all too aware of his mortality at this point. Yeah, I'm sure he'd get in the ring and fight Hrgovic if you paid him an unrealistic sum. But realistic money, nah, he's not going to fight Hrgovic. I'll be very surprised if he did. AJ has got the Saudis offering him a load of money, whereas Dillian's got nowhere else to go. Let me know what you guys think about all this in the comment section below.